welcome to Conversations with Rev G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G, and I'm here every Monday night live on WEMS Radio, bringing you conversations with special guests. My guests, they come from all walks of life, they have different careers and different perspectives. We come together and we share with you about life. We talk about love. We talk about spirituality. And we talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How does it support you in your everyday life? What practices do you have in your toolkit? I talk about the spiritual toolkit. It's there for you to have those go to practices that'll support you when you need clarity, cheering up, support, anything you need. What practices do you have right at hand? We share our spiritual journey and we also share our spiritual practices. The hope is that we can touch, move, and inspire you and share something with you that can keep you going. We are living in times now where every day we wake up, there's so much going on that, we need something to give us that peace. How do we find that peace? How do we find that place where we can keep going every day in the midst of all that's going on? And my goal is to bring joy and have you live your best life with grace and ease. And I hope from this show, which I'm showing you and my guests are supporting you in finding that bit of joy. And I know that life can sometimes get real crazy, but find those moments of joy. You can find me every day with inspirational messages on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason, and I'm on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. And tonight, I'm really, really excited about having Julia D. Shaw, my guest tonight. Julia is an author, she's a creative, she's a publisher, and an entrepreneur. She's going to share so much with us tonight, and I'm excited to have her join us. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Reverend G. How are you?
I am great, great. I'm excited to have you here. I know I put a lot of titles out there, like, 'cause you got so many things. So introduce yourself to the guests, people.
Well, my name is Julia Shaw, Julia Denise Shaw,
Okay, the D.
but I have to throw that D in there because it makes my mama happy. And it's an honor first to be on your show, and to have worked with you through Momentum Education and just connecting on a lot of different levels and the networking and meeting different people. And it's through networking I am here today.
Yeah.
My name is Julia Shaw. As I mentioned, I am many things, and that's a blessing because we choose. We have the choice, and if you're blessed to live long enough, you can make different choices, have different ideas, different experiences, change and grow.
Mhm.
And so that's part of all my titles.
Mhm.
I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. I started as selling books, selling Black children's books to the Board of Education.
Mm.
And this is over 30 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And from there, from selling books, I went to doing PR and marketing of books. I've worked with Jan Van Sant in her early days, Michael Baisden, Black Expo, Kwanzaa Expo. So just marketing books and marketing authors was something that I've done for many years. And I was able to also watch the industry change and shift.
Because I was going to say, I know you want to introduce, but I don't want to lose this point right here
Go
about
ahead.
the Black books back when you started to sell them. And now it's just like an explosion now because everywhere I look, there's so many authors, there's so much more. Can you talk about the differences in now, then and now?
Well, I can take you. I can really take you to school if you want to go.
Yeah, let's
Do
just.
you really want to go to school?
We want to go wherever you want to take
Okay,
us.
so
Right.
I worked with a black-owned book distributor back in the early to mid 90s.
Mm, mm,
And so we have always been publishing our books, telling our stories, but our stories were not mainstream. But the person that brought to me, this is my thought,
mm,
our stories or put attention to it was Shahrazad Ali, The Black Men's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. Now, that book was a very controversial book back in the 90s. Either you loved it or you hated it. You know, people had book burning parties.
mm,
But one of the things that were key is she self published her book,
mm,
and she would only sell that book to Black owned book distributors. So
mm,
here's a woman on national TV, controversy, but the only way you can buy that book was from a Black owned book distributor. So that made the publishing industry realize, oh, there's a market out there.
mm,
Oh, and we're not part of it.
mm.
So the next New York Times bestseller was Terry McMillan. Her fiction stories were more, can I say, palatable,
Yeah, right.
less controversial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, true to life, true to our
Right.
experiences.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the machine was put behind her
Mm-hmm.
to make her a best-selling author.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after
Mm-hmm.
Terry McMillan came B.B. Moore Campbell,
Mm-hmm.
Benel D. Little, so many more. One of my favorites is J. California Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a game changer too was Elin Harris.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elin Harris self-published his books, and he
Mm-hmm.
was selling his books out the trunk of his car,
Mm-hmm.
going to barbershops and beauty salons,
Mm-hmm.
selling his self-published book.
Mm-hmm.
So the mainstream publishers saw this and like, oh, there is money out there. And
Mm-hmm.
so at one point, our goal and aspiration as a Black author was to be picked up by a major publisher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You had arrived once,
Right. Right.
Penguin Putnam or someone wanted to tell your story. You
Mm-hmm.
got your literary agent and you shopped your book and all that kind of stuff like that. When I worked with Iyanla Van Sant, her first book was Acts of Faith.
Yep.
And she did speaking engagements and
Mm-hmm.
sold her books at the speaking engagements. But
Mm-hmm.
before Acts of Faith, like she too was a self-published author.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so as time went on,
Right. Mm-hmm.
technology came into play because
Mm-hmm.
back then technology, it was, you had to, if you had a fax machine, you was in real business.
Yeah. Right. Right.
You was in real business. If you ain't have a fax machine, you ain't no real entrepreneur. If you don't have a fax.
Right. Yeah. I'm
When's the
back.
last time you seen a fax machine?
I got rid of an old one that had that little phone on the side. That all right.
So that business has had an evolution, and so
Mm-hmm.
has publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Another major impact on publishing was 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 9/11, a major part of my business was doing events, traveling from city to city with Black Expo or working with Kwanzaa Expo, or if an author came into New York,
Mm-hmm.
um, working as their tour guide, taking them to radio stations,
Oh, okay.
to different book signings, different events.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have 10 city tours, 12 city tours.
Mm-hmm.
9/11 came, and for 6 months, planes didn't go up in the sky. So that gave a shift. Books were still sold, but they were sold differently.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's not, you can become a bestseller without a 10 city tour now. And then Facebook came. From
Now,
Facebook,
yeah.
shall we go on? No, it was MySpace first,
Right.
then Facebook. And all of this had impact on the publishing industry,
Right.
websites
You
and
know,
emails.
yeah, I think about now when you talk about, I guess it's just awareness also. When you talk about most of the authors then were first self published. Now you
Hmm.
hear a lot about self publishing, right?
Hmm.
And also with the like you said, with the Facebook and the social media and all that, it's a whole different way books are sold and the message has gotten out there. So there's a shift, right, in what you'll say what your role would be now as opposed to then.
Well, you have different choices.
Okay.
You have different choices, so you can choose. Some people are straight writers. All they want to do is write their book and have somebody else publish it, whether it's a mainstream publisher or they work with a small press.
Mm-hmm.
They're just writers. But when you self-publish, you're starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're the chief cook and the bottle washer.
Mm-hmm.
You're responsible for the editing, the cover
Mm-hmm.
design,
Mm-hmm.
the layout, the
Mm-hmm.
distribution, the
Yes,
shipping,
love that. Mm-hmm.
the marketing, the promotion. And
Mm-hmm.
some people want control like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
important for them that, when you're published by a major house, you don't have the final say over what's on your cover.
Mm-hmm.
You can voice your opinion if you strongly dislike your cover.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it's interesting just in thinking there are so many writers and so many people who have stories to tell and so many people that want to write books. And you hear about the self published versus not published, I guess I would say. And also the whole Amazon thing,
yeah.
where Amazon will take it on and do it all and take what, 60% or something. But I guess that's
Well,
better than zero.
see the 60-40 split is kind of something that's always been there, or 50-50,
Mm-hmm,
because you have to look at it. If I publish a book, right, and my book costs $10,
mm-hmm.
and you own a bookstore,
Right.
okay, and you're selling my book,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to pay for your bricks, your mortar, your staff.
But so
So
you
if
add
four
that.
if $4 from every one of my books
Mm-hmm.
sold goes back to you, the bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can stay in business, and now I'm making money because I'm selling my book.
Mm-hmm.
So where the in being a self-published author or being published by a small press, you can have more control, and rather than splitting that $10,
Mm-hmm.
you go out and you keep that $10 to yourself minus the cost of
Mm-hmm.
printing and publishing,
Yeah,
shipping.
you have to weigh how much work. As you say, you make the choice whether you just want to
Yes.
write and pass it on, or if you want to get involved in every aspect.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so I think I stopped you. You weren't going to even stop there, but you said you started as
yeah, yeah,
doing
we
that, right?
yeah, we have greater choices now
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because of technology,
Mm-hmm.
of social media. I can do a whole book on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, that wasn't possible,
Mm-hmm.
even if you were self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, you'd have to print, in order to get the book at a cheaper price, you'd have to print more.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to print 1,000 books, 2,000 books, and
Mm-hmm.
lay that money out, and then hustle and
Well,
sell those books,
mm-hmm.
to get your money back.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's print on demand. If I want to print 10 books, I can print 10. If I want to print
Mm-hmm.
100, I can print 100.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the reason why places like Amazon and I can't think of any of the others, they will do everything for
Right,
you,
right.
because
They'll
then
do
I would
it.
be promoting them on your show, and I don't want to promote
Yeah, right, 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 right,
them.
right. I know what
So,
you're saying.
there's it there. You can self-publish and have it all done for you. So there's so many options
Options,
out there
yeah.
now.
Mm.
And that's why one of the things I say to people, you have to be an educated author.
Mm.
Just like if you're in the music industry, you can have
Mhm.
a beautiful voice,
But you
but you
gotta
got to
know
know
the
the
bit.
music industry.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't know that industry, you
Hmm.
just one lovely broke
Right.
singer that didn't
With a
make it.
lovely voice, right?
What a lovely voice that
Hmm.
didn't know how to navigate that complex
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
ever changing industry. And
Hmm.
it's the same with publishing. It's the same with the art world. Now they have NFTs and a lot of different things. So any industry and any craft is always evolving.
Hmm.
And so you have to work to evolve with it, or have a team in place
That's the
that
key.
you pay them
Yeah, right, to get it
to
done
keep
for
you
you.
evolved.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Well,
You know.
we did. I did Momentum 200 this past
Hmm.
weekend,
Oh, I
and
missed it.
one of the things we did was it was like the um the team to keep the dream alive, right? I can't get the right phrasing of it, but who has to be on your team, right? To keep
Hmm.
your dream, right? And it's all about the support and the teamwork. And we got to look at, who will we have on our team, right? And as you said that, it reminded me that we don't have to do it all, right?
No.
We just have to be able to have the right people, attract the right people, know who we need
Yes.
to carry. And I love what you said about the singer part. You need to know the business too. You don't have to be an expert in it, but don't
No.
just leave it out to other people. Get in there and
Yes.
understand the business aspects of what's really going on.
Yeah.
As we talk, you're an artist, so we can transition into talking about your art and what inspires you and where you are with your art. Because I've seen some of your pieces.
Okay. And so we're gonna talk about the art, and then we're gonna double back to the books.
To the what?
To the books.
Okay, go back to the book. Let's stay on the book. We go anywhere you want to go. You got
Okay.
something
All right.
like
Yeah. Because I didn't get a chance to share that I'm a publisher now. I'll
right.
talk
I was
about
gonna say
that
that
then.
earlier that you're a publisher.
Yeah.
So if I have a book, I could just throw it to you.
Yes, it all depends on how much you want to put in. Me and my business partner, Tony Coleman Brown, we
Okay.
created a company entitled Collaborative Experience.
Mm.
And so, with the collaborative experience, what we allow authors to do is to choose. You
Mm.
can choose if you want to be a self published author and publish your own book, if that's your choice.
Mhm.
Or you can choose to be a co author in one of the book compilations that we have created. We started out with this book, Delayed But Not Denied, Book One.
Mhm.
And so in this book, we have over 20, they're listed here,
Mhm.
co authors.
Oh, okay.
So basically, as a co author, you will invest to have your story in the book. So once you make that investment,
Mhm.
in other words, you pay to be in the book.
Pay to be in the book,
We,
right?
we, we design the cover, we do
Mm.
the editing, the layout.
Mhm.
We also do a book launch party.
Mhm.
We did online book events with book launches on Amazon.
Mhm.
We also educate our co-authors on how they can take this book
Mhm.
and literally make their money back.
Right, that's what I was going to ask you. So
And
you
they,
pay
yes,
to be in the book, and then after it's published, what's the opportunity for the author? That's where you're going now, right? They
right,
can make
yes.
money.
Well,
Okay.
one of the things that we do, and everybody has their different. There's a lot of different book compilations out there. We're not the only one that does this,
Mhm.
but what we offer our co-authors is the opportunity to be part of a book launch, so they get to meet, greet, and network. And
Okay.
so when we do our company launches, we split the revenue minus the expenses
Mm-hmm.
with the contributing authors.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And then also, as a co author, you're able to buy the book at wholesale.
Okay. Got
So
it.
our
And you
books
did that. Okay.
retail
Mm-hmm.
for $20,
Okay.
but as a co-author, you can buy the book for $5.
Okay. All right. That's good. Just to
Okay, so if
understand the
you
math
would,
on that. Right.
right, so if you would like to,
Mm-hmm.
if any business is what you put into it,
Right.
so
Right.
you write a story. If you're a coach
Mm-hmm.
and you write a story about why I became a coach,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and now you do a speaking engagement
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about your coaching,
Mm-hmm.
so you can say, well, I have a chapter in this book that talks about why I became a coach,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to stories of other powerful and successful, in these books, women and men
Mm.
that tell their stories.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so now in the back of the room, I can sell these books.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates a revenue stream from you for you in selling a book, as well as now you can use this book as a promotional item.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wanted to be on your show.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent you 2 copies of the book as a promotional item. So you get to see, touch, and feel the book.
Yeah.
Tony and I have done speaking engagements at
Mm-hmm.
book clubs and different events,
Mm-hmm.
from giving a review copy
Mm-hmm.
that cost me $5,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, that now can turn into
People more.
$300 or
Yeah.
$500,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
based on the networking that you do with the tool that a book has for you. So and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why a lot of people, well, we have awesome stories to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, and we create our own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And creating our own narrative is very, very important.
Yeah.
And having power over our narrative
Mm-hmm.
is and it's powerful, and
Mm.
it's healing as well.
Yeah.
Because can't nobody heal us but us,
Exactly. Exactly.
and
Mm-hmm.
so when you talk about your spiritual toolkit, writing is a form of healing,
Absolutely.
journaling,
Absolutely.
speaking your story, sharing your story,
Mm-hmm.
they're all forms of healing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the co-authors in our book Delayed But Not Denied, book 2, was Christian, I'm forgetting her name, but Kristen Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband had recently passed away unexpectedly,
Mm-hmm.
and so her telling her story and her experience of her grief and her healing in the chapter,
Mm-hmm.
how her and her 2 children were handling it, was a healing experience for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we had the book launch, her family came, her family thanked us. They were so glad that she did the book because they knew that this was part of her healing and her tribute. And
Mm-hmm.
one day she called me up crying her eyes
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what happened? What's wrong? Because Christian Vaughn was her maiden name, and that's what she used professionally.
Mm-hmm.
So she was wondering, should I use my married name in the book? And I says, yes. You hyphenated Christian Vaughn Robinson. So
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a tribute to your husband, as
Mm-hmm.
well as when your children grow up, they will see this tribute and this acknowledgement in the book as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that I was able to witness firsthand
Mm-hmm.
how being a co-author in one of our books was a part of someone's healing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna fast forward because I do want to get to my art.
Yeah.
Our last book that we did is Our Stories, Our Voices, Black Men Speak Their Truth. Tony and I have brainstorming sessions, like, because we did Delay But Not Denied, book 1, book 2, book 3. Like, well, do we want to do a book 4 or do we want to do something different?
Okay.
So we decided to do something different. And so we did Our Stories, Our Voices, Black Men Speak Their Truth. Because it's important, again, that
Mhm.
we hear the stories from our Black men
Yes, it is.
about their life experiences
Mm-hmm.
and what they've gone through and what they want to share, what has helped them grow and
Mm-hmm.
empower themselves as empower others.
Mm-hmm.
So on this book, oh gosh, let me get my camera right.
Right.
This story is where we have 13 men of color,
Mm-hmm.
okay, contribute their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Andrews is one. He's a local businessman.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Phil Craig is a local minister here. Richard Celestin, he is a lawyer that does a lot of debate and debating, going into schools, teaching
Okay.
children how to debate and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jason Murray out of New Jersey. We also have an author, Milton Shelton. He's out of Atlanta. So the majority of our co-authors were from the New York area, but
Mm-hmm.
we do have contributors from all around the country.
How do you get to be a part of this?
Well, you
Uh,
can reach out to me and I can give you
Well,
more information.
right, right. Okay. If you know, I love the idea that you decided to focus on Black men and have them
Yes.
contribute their story, so there's healing for them also. You know, in telling their stories. So that's why I was saying you. Is it like when you could just reach out to you? I'm trying to tell
Yeah.
everybody how they
Well,
could be a part of this.
well, our next book that we're working on is Our Stories, Our Voices.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs share their truth about business.
Okay, so you're moving into like
Yeah.
education too, because if you're sharing, we can
Because
learn from that
the
also.
the power of entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
the power of creating your own and
Mm-hmm.
creating jobs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if we want to have another flashback from back in the day when people went to college, their goal was to graduate and get a corporate job.
Yeah, yeah.
What corporate jobs are out there now for people to get?
Not when you first graduate, right?
No.
But I think it's
Entrepreneurship,
shifted, right? That people
yes,
are doing more
yes,
entrepreneurship than going
yes.
for corporate jobs.
Yes, it's the key. You know, and many things can come into play when you're dealing with entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It can be your hustle while you're in college. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you like braiding hair, that's your hustle right there.
Mm-hmm.
If you into doing makeup
Mm-hmm.
or designing sneakers where you paint and you take a pair of white sneakers and you bling them out, you design them out. You know, if you want a t-shirt brand or so we can have day jobs, which is cool. We can decide to launch into being an entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur full time, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But the turning your passion into a profit is key.
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we passionate people, but we may
Yeah.
not always be profitable people.
So
Okay.
passionate, right?
Yes, yes. And it's important to love what you do and be
Yeah,
passionate about it. The
exactly.
enthusiasm, that's what keeps you going to do 25/8 a week, 25 hours, 8 days a week,
Yeah, exactly.
because you're passionate about your business, about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But within that passion process, it's important that we learn the finances. You create a business plan that
Mm-hmm.
you know how much it costs to publish a book.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you know what your hard costs are, and
Mm-hmm.
you know what your goals are to make a profit. So entrepreneurship is really key. And when you hear about millionaires and people that are successful in business, many have the story about they had 3, 4, 5 failed businesses,
Yeah, they do.
but they kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the key. And with entrepreneurship, you learn from your mistakes, and then you apply them and you move forward. And
Mhm.
then sometimes, you may have a project that you're working on now and it doesn't quite work. 5 years from now, you bring that project back
Mhm.
and it's killer.
Mhm. Mhm. Being able to shift and
Yeah.
being able to, I think that's important, being able to shift and always assessing and seeing which way to go. And I like what you said in the beginning too. You said you had all those titles, but we can always choose now to do this and then move on to do something else and then move on. It's just like we're not stuck in one thing. There's
Nope.
so many different things that we can do.
And that's what life is about, different experiences, and more than one thing can bring you joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was an entrepreneur full time 25 years, 30 years, because it
Mhm.
worked for me then, because I had two daughters and I was a single mom. So it gave me a lot of flexibility. But
Mhm.
once the economy things shifted. There was a big shift in my work again when 9/11 happened.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, Julie, you got to get a job,
Mhm.
because that's what you need to do realistically.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I did get a day job. My biggest worry, going back to work after 25 years, was not the work I was doing, but could I get there on time?
That was the biggest thing. Yeah, because you were used to managing your own
My
time,
own
right?
time, my
Right.
own. I was dancing to the beat of my own drummer. And
Mm.
once you get a job, you got to, dance to somebody else's drum.
Yes,
I did it. I did it.
absolutely.
I worked in a senior center. I became a director there. I
Mm-hmm.
went back to college after 25 years. So I
Mm-hmm.
started college in 1978
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated in 2013.
Wow. Congratulations,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you. And it was, again, being a mother, and I use the stove. My stove was full. But
Mm.
once your kids get grown and they're on their own, you got some empty burners on the stove. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're able to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did not do was complete school. I have a daughter with two masters, but I did not complete school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I went back, and in me getting my bachelor's, I was able to get the day job that I have now, that I love and I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm director of a community center in Queens, in Rochdale Village.
Oh, okay.
And I love that. I love the community. I love providing information and resources, and creating workshops, and just the tools that not, because it's an intergenerational community, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's seniors or whether it's the daycare. I mean, day camp. We don't have a daycare. We have day camp. We have music,
Mm-hmm.
yoga for kids. Like, children deserve the best.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
always wanted a community center. I'm so excited to hear of your experience because I thought that I love the idea of having a space for youth and all people to go to experience the dance. Because I think about, I wanted to be a dancer, but we couldn't pay for dance classes, right?
hmm
Or if a singer, or if I can remember times not being able to pursue certain creative
right,
because there was no money to pay for that, right?
right.
Extra. So then I switched to just be smart and go to school and get a degree, right? And I ended up working with computers when I was always a people person, right? I ended
hmm
up in finance working with computers. And one day I was like, wow, right? But it was just the path, right? The
Yes.
path, right? that I was on, right? And so it really excites me to hear that you have a community center and all the different things that you're offering there. It's just like flash, like, oh, that's what I always wanted to do. So I'm excited to hear about that. Right now,
Well,
there's nothing to do
well,
about it. But,
I don't know if you're familiar with Rochdale Village. It's one of the largest Mitchell-Lama co-ops. We have 5,000 people, 5,000 families, 25,000 people. And, in the co-op, we're shareholders because I do live here. I live here and work here. My commute is 20 minutes
Where is that
walking
located?
in Jamaica, Queens, in Jamaica, New
Oh,
York.
okay,
You can
okay,
throw,
okay.
if you go to JFK, you can throw a rock and hit us. But, and
Okay.
so, you know, the community is here, and
Mhm,
I listen to them to
mhm,
try to provide what the needs of the community are. That's within my power. That's within the corporation that I work for. To just bring new and different and exciting things. Prior to this interview, I did a virtual book event with a young lady that wrote a book for single moms.
mm,
So that was, fun, and it was interesting. Recorded it. We do Zumba on the grass, and that
mm.
Rochester has an urban garden group where, and I joined the garden club for the first time this year.
Yeah. Mhm,
So it's, providing the community with what they need in order to
mm,
grow and to flourish, and I'm happy, and I'm excited about that.
mhm.
And I'm also, as Reverend G mentioned, an artist.
You're like, oh, the
And I'm
transfer.
always an artist. When I was a little girl,
Mm,
and I can relate to your story, I would say to people, I want to be an artist.
mhm.
And I'm like, well, don't you want to be a teacher
Lord.
or a lawyer or a doctor? Or get you a good city job, which I did. I worked for transit for a minute.
Right. Mhm.
And people were looking out for you. My mom was looking
Right.
out for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the same token, they created the image of a starving artist,
Mm,
because every artist ain't starving.
right. That's true. Right. Wow.
Every artist is not starving.
Mhm.
But be that as it may, I've always done some type of art, something with my hands, some kind of creative. If it's taking my kids to the beach and we getting seashells and we painting the seashells.
Mhm.
I've always done, something. And so years ago, I had gotten some vases from a friend's store that was going out of business, and I'd covered them with African print, but I hadn't perfected it because I didn't have the right glue. And, so during the pandemic, I started thinking about, because I'm closed in 3 months, need to do something with my hands because, I'm like this,
All right.
and I figured it out. I figured out the right glue to get, and I started covering wine bottles and vases. And that was my creative release
Mhm.
during the pandemic.
Mhm.
So turn around, and I had created over 75 pieces. Like, this is one,
Wow.
and that I covered with different African print.
Mm.
Okay, this is a vase
Mhm.
that I covered with different print.
Wow, that's a beautiful.
Thank
Mhm.
you. And so I was in my next thing I had 75 pieces that I created because I was, it's when you quarantine, you shut in.
Right, you said it right.
I was still working. I was blessed to still have my job and be able to work virtually and remotely. But, you were in the house a lot.
Mhm.
And after creating 75 pieces, I wanted to kind of sell them. I was thinking about it.
Mhm.
And then I did my LT with a leadership training with Momentum,
Mhm.
LT 185.
Okay. Okay.
And my buddies at my LT were the first ones to buy my vases to support my business, my art business. And
Mhm.
so that gave me the momentum
Mhm.
and the energy and the goals that I can do this.
Mhm.
And I've been doing it for 2.5 years. It ebbs and it flows depending on how demanding, certain things are in my life.
Mhm.
But one of my dreams has always been to, when I retire, to retire and oil paint on the beach. So I
Yeah.
may not be oil painting on the beach, but I'll be creating vases and, um, just, and I do have some pieces that are canvas that I've created.
Mhm.
I do stuff on
Mhm.
canvas.
Mhm.
I've been in some art exhibits, which is
Mm,
really,
okay.
really awesome. Jamaica, Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning, JCAL,
Mm-hmm.
and Jamaica Queens is celebrating their 50th anniversary. I've done art exhibits with JCAL, and sometimes people come into your life for a reason, a season,
Yeah.
a lifetime. So
Yeah.
here I am running a community center, and we got this art teacher in there, and she has a nonprofit, Art Transforms, and she's teaching everybody art. And my
Yeah.
goal is make sure she got canvases, this, that, and the
Mm-hmm.
other, whatever we agreed to supply.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Julia, when you come in the class,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I hemmed and hawed, and she kind of got me in a headlock, and I went into the class, and I kind of been doing art ever since.
Wow. That's,
And so, sometimes, a person will come back into your life that will rekindle
mm-hmm.
that old flame that you kind of, you might not have put it out, but it just kind of been smoldering because it was covered up.
Mm-hmm.
You take the cover off and let it get a little air, and it's going to burst
Mm-hmm.
into a big flame.
What? Yeah.
And so that's how I feel about my art.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm passionate about the art. I'm passionate about publishing and working with authors because I have so many years of experience, and I believe in our stories, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
we need to tell them. And
Mm-hmm.
all of it creates jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We hire an editor, we hire a graphic designer,
Right.
we
Exactly.
hire a social media marketer,
Mm-hmm.
and the same with my art. I need to make money from selling my art so I can pay this young lady that does my social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so she can in turn buy sneakers for her son.
Yeah.
So
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
it's important. It's really, really important that we create our own, and in creating our own, we create business opportunities for ourselves as well as for others.
Um, uh, Two things I want. There's a lot I want to talk about, but the youth in your community, what? How have you seen since you've been working there? How has that evolved or changed over time?
I've been there since 2016, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
about 2016.
Okay.
And reaching young people is one of the most challenging things. When a child is like 6 to 12, their mother's going to bring them to
Some.
summer camp, the mother's going to bring them to dancing school or
Mm-hmm.
music lessons. Mom brings you, mom drops you off, mom picks you up.
Mm-hmm.
But once you become a teen and you have a bit of freedom and you have choices and opinions and attitudes,
All that, right?
all of that, it becomes harder, and it's a different world now from when we were growing up. So it's really trying, my biggest goal is to hear their voice,
Mm-hmm.
and to get things that they're interested in and things that they want to do, and reach them where they're at. And it's really a challenge because sometimes they don't want to connect with older people. So one of the strategies that I'm working with, there's certain young people that get it, and so working with the ones that get it to connect, find out what the others want or are interested in learning and doing, and then have them champion the cause.
It's like peer to peer stuff, right?
Yes, peer-to-peer empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because teens and kids are so in tune. They can tell when I, as an older person, has designed a flyer, or if one of their peers have designed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're that connected. And I can say, "Oh, come on, let's go to this dancing class."
Mm-hmm.
But if their friend says, "Come on, let's go to this dancing class,"
They are.
it's the same class. They don't told me no, but because their friend is involved, their friend is organizing it, their
Mm-hmm.
friend is the choreographer of it, they're
Mm-hmm.
coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest strategy, just trying to figure it out. In figuring out what they want and what they need is also giving them the tools to move forward. Because one of the things that we do at the community center, if you're coming for an interview as a counselor, you have to dress professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't have to come in a three-piece suit,
Right. Right.
flat, no sneakers, no jeans, no ripped
Mm-hmm.
jeans, no this. We
Mm-hmm.
give you a list of how you're not supposed to dress.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
you can't say you didn't know, because some
Mhm.
children, some young people don't know.
Mhm.
But if you come on this interview, you know, and you also know that you have to bring 2 copies of your resume.
Mhm. So you're teaching them a lot of things that
Teaching
they're
them,
gonna need. Yes.
because I would be doing them a disservice
Mhm.
if they worked at Rochdale Village Community Center and they left and then they went on their next job interview, and because I didn't demand excellence from them, that they dress professionally.
Mhm.
When if you're a camp counselor, you don't have to be professional all the way through.
Mhm.
You know, you can come in your sneakers and your jeans because you run around with kids, but when you
Right.
come
Right.
in that interview,
Right. Right. Mhm.
you have to
You know
represent your
what?
best self.
It's this is all. I'm so excited. I want to shift now because I'm looking at the time, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted you to talk about. I ask everybody to talk about their spiritual journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what are your go-to spiritual practices in your toolkit? So,
Oh,
what has been your spiritual journey, Julia?
I have a lot of different tools in my toolkit,
Mm-hmm.
and I use different ones at different times in my life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because you can get new tools, you can keep the old tools, and my belief in God
Mm-hmm.
and prayer has always been a foundation in the toolkit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's important because there is a higher power,
Mm-hmm.
regardless to what you choose to worship or pray or meditate or chant. There is in my belief, there's a higher power. And Jesus Christ, God, Buddha, you choose. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to believe it, because that higher power is a part of you and you are a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's where self-love comes into play,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that higher power has put a part of you, of them in you. So another key tool is learning, and it's something I had to learn, self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And having self-love goes into self-care,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't love you, ain't nobody gonna love you, right?
That's right.
But
Right.
if you don't know that you don't love yourself, and you're
Right.
looking for somebody else to love you,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have a bumpy road.
Mm-hmm.
And sooner or later, you're gonna realize the only common denominator with Jim, John, Harry, Sally on this job, that job, the other job was me,
Mm-hmm.
and how I showed up or didn't show up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that whole self-love and forgiving yourself and letting go, like, you feel the pain. We all have different experiences. Some can make us and some can break us. But to feel that pain, and you have to work to heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Healing is hard work,
Mm-hmm. It
but
takes.
so is suffering too.
Yeah.
So you pick your choice. It's all,
Mm-hmm.
all about choices. I choose to heal. I choose to work to be better. I choose to love myself. I choose to empower myself, because if I don't love me, I can't love you. Not right. And if
No,
I can't,
I don't think people get that. That's something that just hit me like one of those things we should say all the time. If I don't love me, how can I love you, right?
and
But
and,
it's
and
mixed up though, because people talk about their love and they love, and they're really not loving themselves. And as you said, they really don't know that they don't love themselves.
yeah, because if you have to heal you,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And once you heal, because we've all been through some kind of trauma,
Yeah, all of us.
all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So realizing what your trauma is, what you hold on to, that pain, and trying to let it go, trying to heal, and not trying, working to heal and
Mm-hmm.
grow from it, to shift the messages. Like that's why affirmation is so
Mhm.
important.
Yeah.
Words of encouragement
Mhm.
to others and to yourself is important. Like
Mhm.
when you have on a outfit and you looking good and your hair did, like, you feel a different way.
Yeah, you
You give off a
absolutely.
different energy.
Yeah, it's energy. Yeah.
You give off a different energy.
Hmm.
So the key to it is we have to choose to replace the negative thoughts that have been instilled in us or that we have experienced with positive
Hmm.
self-talk.
Yeah.
One of the things I do in the morning, I'm a big YouTube listener of motivational, inspirational
Hmm.
messages, whether it's motivation, whether I love listening to Sarah Jakes Roberts. She's
Hmm.
very empowering.
Hmm.
Tony Robbins,
Hmm.
Jim Rohn, like all of these different motivation, because you can listen to a 30-minute motivational video, but there's that one sentence
Hmm.
in that video
Hmm.
that makes the difference in your day.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because because I start the day trying to fill myself with, I meditate, I pray. Every now and then I throw in a little exercise. My daughter encourages me, Mommy, you got to exercise before you go out. And it's true. You got to get this pour into your routine.
Yeah, exactly. I say consistency is everything, though. If you do it consistently, you'll, and it takes something, though, because the minute you stop doing it, right, starting up again becomes like, oh, I'm going to start tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
start on this day. But I always talk about consistency, right? And I think I was listening to something the other day and I picked up dedication. So I've been playing with those two words, for the past couple of weeks. Consistency and dedication will support you in having the things that you want to have, right?
Yeah.
But that consistency is one.
And not beating yourself off when you fall off the
Just get back
off
up.
the wagon or
Yeah,
off the bus or off the
exactly.
train.
Yeah.
I work with a nutritionist, and she's a faith-based nutritionist, Elizabeth Madison.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn about your body, you learn about health, you learn about what you're supposed to eat, what you don't supposed to eat. But
Mm-hmm.
you fall, you go to the barbecue and you tell yourself, I'm not going to eat that, or I'm not going to eat 4 pieces of barbecue chicken. I'm not going to eat 4 pieces of barbecue chicken. And
Then you end up
you
eating
end up eating five. So there's a strategy. When you go to the barbecue, you find the salad first, and you
mm-hmm.
fill half your plate with salad. Then
Mm-hmm.
you put your chicken. Then you
Mm-hmm.
put your mac and cheese or your macaroni salad. So you're not depriving yourself, but you're
Mm-hmm.
learning to think differently
About
about
eating.
food
Yeah,
and
exactly.
about eating.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. So it's
Yeah.
just, we all have to shift with something in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We
And
really
in that shift, sometimes we go backwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes we may take 2 steps back and 1 step forward, but
Mm-hmm.
at least you're moving.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then there comes a day when you got 10 steps ahead, and then
Yeah.
so the goal is to keep going regardless to how much you fall down, to
Mm-hmm.
get back up and just, to kind of keep going,
Yeah.
and not beating yourself up
That
during the
that
process.
comes though, when you say that, I think about if you love yourself, you won't beat yourself up, right? If you're taking care of yourself, you learn how not to do that, right?
Yeah,
And
rather than giving yourself a full beat down, you may
right.
just spank your hand, and
and,
you got to
and
have
you
some
over time,
discipline.
right? And over time, if you're used to giving yourself the beat down and start to recognize, it's like in
Yes,
recognizing what we
yes,
do is where we can make the change, right?
Rec-
Because we live just live most and not being in the moment, not being present to what's going on, right? Not even being present to the thoughts that we keep.
yes.
And so the thought, I believe the thoughts that you keep produce whatever you're having going on out there, right? So to not be aware of those thoughts, right? And just moving right along, and you wonder why life is turning out the way it is because you're on automatic and not being present to the moment and what's going on. So a lot of people have negative things just playing around in their head all the time,
and
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 then
and and,
wonder.
and they don't realize it,
Right,
or
exactly.
when they do realize it, the power to shift.
The power to shift.
It doesn't
Right.
happen overnight. It's a
It's
process.
a process. And
Shifting
the
is a
power to
process.
shift too is, it's not like you're going to say stop thinking that. You have to replace it. You just
Yep.
can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to think negative today."
Yes.
That's not it. Right? You
You
really
have to
have to
replace
figure
it.
out replace. And you, as you said, affirmations work for me. I love
Yeah,
affirmations.
me
Right? I
too.
do affirmations in my sleep. Right?
Yeah, me too.
All the time because I'm always affirming what it is that I want, and they bring me peace. I can do that. Find the affirmation and use that to find my way back to peace when I'm frantic or when I find that I'm out. Because we all go in and out, right?
Yes.
And then, like you said, it's a practice.
And that's one of the things that's most important with working with our children and working with our youth, to teach them the process. And that's why part of the reason young people have a lot of challenges, because they don't know how to self-regulate. So giving them tools, speaking love into them, speaking affirmations into them, teaching them how to say affirmations to themselves. My youngest granddaughter is 8. So for the last 2 years, we will take I'll take a lipstick and write an affirmation on the mirror. So I chose last year's affirmation, and she chose this year's affirmation. So she picked joyful. So it says at the top of the mirror, I am joyful. And so doing that with her, letting her see that and letting her choose the affirmation is, a small part of empowerment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what's really the key with our young people. We have to speak positivity into them. We have to speak affirmations into them of their greatness, of who they are, applaud them, encourage them, let them know that you're proud of them. And then if they do something that ain't quite right, you got to kind of check,
Well, no, too. Yeah,
but you check them with love.
yeah,
They
absolutely.
can tell when you checking them and you care about them, and when you checking them out of scorn, or like, you don't need to be doing that. Why, all here you go, all you young people, y'all don't. No, 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 no. They done tuned you out.
Right,
So
absolutely.
you're going want, 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 want. But if you come from a place of love and care, now, Johnny, you are so handsome.
Mm, mm,
I would have, when you come into this community center, you got to pull them pants up, though.
mm, mm. Right. And they'll get it from that perspective.
They'll get it
Well,
from.
Miss Julia, I think we are almost at time. I want to give you a time so that people can know how to hook up with you, and all the different things that you're offering.
Well, I have a website that's
Oh, okay.
Julia D. Shaw, SHAW.com. I have several.
Mm-hmm.
My publishing company is the collaborative experience.com, and I partner with Tony Coleman Brown and the publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
And my art business is Jules, JULEZ
Mm.
Art Studio.
Okay,
And
so
I'm on Facebook, Instagram. social media, and a plain old phone number if you want to give me a call.
Right. So are
917
we? Go ahead.
917 501 6780.
So I
And
was thinking if we just say Julia D. Shaw, you'll pop up everywhere, right?
yeah, yeah, I had to throw that D in there because there's a lot of Julia Shaws up there.
Right.
Yeah, they'll
And
pop
we
up.
know we're looking for the publishing company and everything that you do. I'm so happy that you joined me tonight
Oh,
and
it's a
share.
joy. It's been a joy.
Yeah, it's been nice having you, and thank you again for sharing all your information. And I'm excited about your community center. I want to know more about it. Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna invite you over to some different things that we're doing so you can
Yeah,
come to Queens, the other borough.
the queen. Right, the other borough. Right,
The other borough.
right. All right, Miss Julia.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You
Thank you so much for having me.
you too.
I love and
Love you too.
appreciate you.
Love you too.
All right, take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. And I'm here every Monday night at 8 p.m. I'm live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. And just check out the WEMS radio app to find out more about Conversations with Reverend G, WEMS radio. So I'll see you again next week at 8 p.m. right here. But in the meantime, you can find me every day on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I'm on Instagram as Rev Grenetta, bringing you inspirational messages to help you get through your day. And remember, try to find a bit of joy because I love for you to live your best life in joy with grace and ease. Have a great, great week, and I'll see you again next week.